Ancient technologies. Erecting Stonehenge, or any monolithic structure. Obviously, the building material will be stone, using a whole bunch of big stone blocks, slabs, right, to build things, like Stonehenge, for example. So, we all know how the structure looks like. You got two pillars with a lintel, I think that's what it's called. So you have a stone on top of two other stones in somewhat of a door shape. Then you put them around in a circle pattern. There you go. I think part of this, especially for Stonehenge, I think Stonehenge used to have a top, like a roof or something. That's part of purpose of why these pillars upright with the lintels essentially. This allowed them to put a roof on top of this. So what this was used for is specific, I don't know. I'm just going to focus on building one, worry about figuring out what it was really for later on. Some people have their ideas. But the main thing you're going to want to do is essentially tilt the stones. And there's different types of ways you can try to tilt the stones, right? You can lift, you can push up, you can. So the method I like is the ramp method of lifting up the stone. So, see, there's a couple of ramp methods right here. Making ramp out of a whole bunch of stone, using a whole bunch of like wooden logs and stuff like that, and like a sled, for example. Just take it up high enough that you can have it where it'll tilt over down into a ditch essentially, or into position that you want. And then the idea is to try to pull it the rest of the way slowly and to get into position. So this is most people's idea of how they would erect an obelisk or any stone structure. And over here are some illustrations showing the same type of concept. Obviously, before you can erect something, you have to transport it. And that's where you have stuff like sleds, wagons, anything with wheels. A lot of people like a lot more fancier stuff like levitation, which is not an impossible thing to do. It can be done. Magnetic levitation is a thing. Silent levitation is also a thing. It's just a matter of figuring out how to do it. Typically, it would be done through musical instruments, any type of device or any type of thing that can create the vibrations, the sound waves themselves. But that's what you're using is waves, oscillations or movements of air molecules. Basically air bending, right? And lift and move things with the force of air. Here we see how powerful hurricanes can be. Hurricanes can lift heavy things and throw them around. So the idea of wind, right, air moving things is not an impossible thing. It's logical, something that can be done. So here's some illustrations of different methods to not only lift up the stones, but to also be able to put the lintel or top stone on top. This method over here, I like the whole lever wood stacking method, kind of like Jenga, and creating essentially a lifting platform, like a hydraulic lift, however way you want to call it. Instead of trying to lift something up, by pulling it up, lift it up by essentially supporting it up or pushing it up. And that's what this stack of stones, not stones, a stack of wood would work as, where you're creating an elevation, you're moving the stone up and up and up based off of you stacking these logs on top of each other to be able to create a supportive platform, something that can support the weight of the stone at the same time allowing you to, you know, lift it up or support lifting. Let's call it that, support lifting. So that's the method I like the most because it would just utilize leverage, manpower, right, and just technique, as opposed to trying to lift something up with cranes, or trying to have a whole bunch of guys pulling rope. I mean, every method works. It's just a matter of which one's more effective, which one's more time consuming, which one's more energy consuming. Not just time, because I mean, time is important. If something needs to be built, especially if it's meant to be a fortification or something for shelter, the faster the better. So time is important. The whole idea of like, oh, ancient humans had plenty of time, so that's why they were able to build big stuff. It's like, yeah, they have time per se, but you don't know why they needed these big stone structures. It would have been easier and faster, right, to build it out of smaller stones, easier to carry stones that they can carry by hand. 2 stones at a time type of thing, because you have 2 arms. Maybe 4 stones at a time if you're a strong guy like me. So or we can do wagons and fill it up with like thousands of stones and haul them. Like, it just would have made more sense logically to use smaller stones, right, to build stuff, as opposed to using big stones, using big heavy stones, which means them being big and heavy mattered. So there was a purpose for them. But at the same time is still a fact. They needed it built in a certain time, and they had a lot of free time. That's possible. But I like to believe that they needed to build the stuff in a hurry, especially when I hear stuff about the pyramids were tombs for the pharaohs. It's like, really? So if on average a pyramid takes 20 plus years to build, right? But let's say the pharaoh only lives for like 10 years, maybe 15 or even 19 at most. Their pyramid won't be finished before they die. They're more likely going to die before them. Because assassinations can happen, an accident, they can slip and fall and break their neck, like anything could happen. They could get sick, they could die away. It depends, like, when did they become pharaohs? Did they become pharaohs when they were like 10 years old, right? And then, you start building the pyramids from that time. They go from there. And so by the time they're in their 30s, the pyramid would be done. So then it'll just be empty until the pharaoh dies, and then it gets used, that kind of stuff. So I just don't think that that's likely, especially there's proof that it hasn't been used for that, and there's proof that it definitely was used for other things. That's obviously for another video of what the pyramids is used for. Obviously, I did the whole lighthouse thing, but so there's different methods. Saying there's this one over here, where you can essentially do the little ramp thing to bury the stone. To lift up the stone. You see how they're using leverage, and they're using this triangular crane, pulley, whatever you want to call it, or triangular rope lever, I guess we'll call it. And then they fill up the sides, the height of the top, right, to make a path, essentially another ramp. And then they pull up that ramp, right, the top stone that they're going to place on top, and that's how they're able to build Stonehenge. So, it's a good method. Definitely the type of method I like, because I like the ramp idea, because it's a simple idea. Once you figure out the idea of a ramp, the idea of a slope, and it's not too hard to figure out a slope because there's hills, mountains, right? So ancient humans are going to know what a slope is, right? Here you see what I call a ramp block, which is a block, stone block that has a slope to it, so it makes it like a ramp. That's all a ramp really is. It's a steep slope. It's an inclining surface. So using inclining surfaces to lift things up or to bring stuff up to a higher level, elevation, logic. And here's something that looks like they're moving an obelisk, so that seemed interesting. Grab that. And then here, the video I just recorded of me using the ramp block essentially concept to lift up an obelisk. You see I have some weights on one side. So here we go. Sorry that it's slanted, but you get the idea. So you're going to take it up the ramp, or ramp block, until you get to over a 50-degree angle. Then it tilts over because of the weight you have on it, or the weight of the base, cause it to, because of gravity. So gravity will take the heavy part, which is the bottom part, right, and it will try to do essentially equilibrium, right, and make it where everything stands upright. That's essentially what you want to do there. And another video where I use weights to do that. So I have weights here, 5 pounds, here the 20-pound weight. I have the 5 pounds here, which makes this side, which is 10 pounds, added to the 5 pounds is 15. So it's 15 pounds on this side, and there's 10 pounds on this side of the weight, essentially. And once you start lifting up from the middle, get it to a high enough elevation, it's going obviously like a seesaw, right? Like one side is going to be heavier than the other side, so of course one side is going to go down because of gravity versus the other one. So you'll see me lift it up, and then it falls over again, lift it up until it starts trying to position itself, because one side is heavier than the other side. That is something that simple. It's all you need in order to erect something, whether it be a statue, an obelisk, a stone that you're going to build a wall with, whatever. Something that simple is what ancient humans can do to build megalithic structures. This is an advanced, technique because it's based off of physics and math. Geometry. Yeah, but basically, mainly physics. Right? The idea of physics. And there you go.